Good morning, everyone. I think those of us in the studio, in the gallery here, everyone's on their second cup of coffee at this point. Our challenge today, this is a late fall scene. It's one of those scenes probably about a week before daylight savings closes everything down. So it's dark at 4:30 or whatever, or 4 o'clock. But it's a late afternoon, fall, with bare trees. The grasses have turned kind of a tawny color. And we've got those marvelous late afternoon clouds floating above. So what we want to do is capture this sort of light, this late fall light. And my focal point, of course, is this. I really love this White House, just bleached right out. It's my focal point. It's down here. If I make my Gulf sign too bright, that will end up being in the center of the picture, and I'm not sure. I really like the White House. We'll put the Gulf sign in, though. I am going to do one change from what was on the video. This white tree over on the left, I don't know how in the world I would put that back in after I do the mountain. It's just, so I'm just gonna skip it. I'm taking it out. I just realized it's not, I don't want something light off on that part of the paper. And so I am going to put in another outline of sort of a maple tree or some sort of tree that will be back there, and I won't worry so much about it. All right. The trickiest thing here is to do the sky, and we've really got three different colors. I don't see the clouds as being as white as the house. They clearly are kind of a pinky yellowy color. You have the blue sky, and then you've got the dark parts of the clouds. And so you've got really three different colors going on in the sky, and you got to watch the amount of water you put on this. So it's just so this first go at this, I'm going to paint almost half the paper with water. Now I don't encourage you to try to paint with me, because then you'll stop and you'll look up and you'll say, what are you doing now, or what color? I'm going around. Ew, what are we doing here? I'm sort of fading this down here. And I'm also going to do some of the grasses down here. I'm not doing the road, but I am going to soak this area because I want to get, while I'm waiting for some sky colors to dry, I can jump into the foreground later on. Okay, so just checking that I have. Sometimes you take the water right out of it too. Okay, good. What's that?
So what you do, you've got paper.
Nope. No, I went right through everything. Right through everything. Good question.
What did you go right through? Everything except for the White House?
No. She was asking about the clouds. I didn't skip over the clouds. I put water into them. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of raw sienna and alizarin crimson. Can they see this at home?
That's the whole idea.
Okay.
Go through everything on the top? Even the clouds? Yes.
Okay.
And the grass too, I think.
But I said don't try to do this, because by the time you put it on, Judy,
Wet,
it'll dry out, and then you have to do it again. So
I was in the bathroom.
all right. So I'm gonna the white parts of the clouds I'm gonna put in up here.
That's white.
Yeah, I know. How about that, right? But we've sort of told ourselves that these clouds are not as white as the... Yeah. while I can't go into these colors right away because they're gonna just blur all over the place, but I'm gonna do a little bit of the grass. This is why I'm gonna do a little bit of aureolin and ultramarine. Let me see where we're gonna put that. Ugh. I never like to go back. You know, if I do the grass, I never want to go back and do it a second time. So I want to make sure I have it strong enough here. Okay, there's some grass. I'm going to put a little bit of it back in here. All right. And then I'm going to take this grass in the field. I'm going to use raw sienna and ultramarine. Now, meanwhile, I'm mindful that the sky is drying, so I got to move along here. Okay, I'm going to leave the road. I think I've made the decision that the road is going to be darker than the grass. Usually our roads reflect the sky and it's a nice light blue, but this time I see this late afternoon light being... Okay, now my strokes are going to try to imitate. God, I got to keep going back and reloading my brush. I'm going to sort of follow the lines of this. Okay, so that my strokes are kind of going, and I'll put in just a little bit of water here to feather that. Okay, now, I told you not to start to try to paint with me because I'm moving pretty fast. Just watch what I do next. I'm going to go in with a clean palette. You've seen me clean my palette. A little bit of cerulean. I'm going into the blue part of the sky and ultramarine. And I'm hoping now that I get some soft edges around the clouds. I don't want it to be too hard. Boy, but it's warm in here, so this is dried more than I expected. Okay, well, we deal with that. Reaching for a little trick. I'm gonna try something. I put a little spray bottle here. Dirty trick, huh? I'll try something else too. Okay, think Ned. Pay attention to what you're doing. We're looking at these clouds. We're looking at the shapes of them. They're a little flatter on the bottoms. They're more rounded on the tops of them. Okay, I'm looking at the picture to see where my blue shapes are. Coming down to here. I'll take a little bit of raw sienna. Scrape it down. This is here where, like I need 3 hands. I'm skipping that cloud I'm not going to deal with. Okay. Now we'll go back. Now I am going around these trees. Boy, I'd hoped that the water would have held on a little bit longer, but that's all right. Now I'm coming down, and I'm just going to make a few lines of blue over that yellow.
And that yellow is what?
It was raw sienna. And I'm going to feather this color down here so I don't have some sharp lines. Oh, I got a little chimney
You
there.
took that in November of 2012 with your little cannon.
Is that what it says? Does it say that on there?
Mm-hmm. So,
Wow, I've waited a long time to get around to this one. Now, I want to get a few soft edges up here. So this is where I got to be really careful about the amount of water I put on here because I don't want it to start fluffing everywhere. But I do want these clouds to look a little softer on the tops. I'm just wiggling a slightly damp brush. Oh, just getting, can you see the edges disappear? An edge right here. I'm gonna stick this up here. We're gonna wiggle it to create a soft edge. That's soft enough, I don't want to know. This one, let's get, I can't hear something. Ooh, a 10. Okay, now, you'd think I'm done, but now we gotta do the gray. So, ultramarine, alizarin, and a little bit of raw sienna. So it's almost like my tri-color thing. And I'm gonna throw, I'm just putting a little bit of water here. Let me see how this looks. I'm gonna throw this gray underneath this cloud, right? Yep, and raw sienna.
I'm having trouble with this.
Now the sunlight is coming from the right.
Outside. Now it's lighter.
So sometimes the clouds will have a little bit of shadow on their left edges. Come on. A little bit of shadow on this left edge. There we go. A little bit at the base of this one.
Which way is the sun coming?
From my right.
Okay.
And I just want to soften this edge. So I get that. I'm going to put a little bit of okay, I'm about, is that enough? So the other day when we were doing, well, sometimes you just start with little teeny stuff and sometimes you just start, and at this point, almost, 70% of my painting is covered. Okay, a little bit more darks in here.
I can't remember it.
What's that?
I said, you gotta stop because I can't
I
remember
know.
the things you did.
All right, I know. Okay, so the tricky thing is to try to keep the clouds soft enough. Don't put too much water on your brush or it'll you get those blooms, those caterpillar things. But this is looking pretty dramatic at this point. Got a little hint of this grass. So off you go with some paint.
So it's raw sienna for the clouds.
Raw sienna, a little bit of alizarin. And if you're in a warm room, I think this room is pretty warm here. You may just do the sky first. Don't worry about the grasses. I was only doing the grasses as something else to do while I was waiting for the sky to dry, but it was drying very fast on me.
To the top of the tree, huh?
Yeah.
And you take the water down to the mouth.
Yeah, I just sort of put water in the color so that it was. Yeah, you don't want a hard edge there. Don't try to paint as fast as I was doing. I'm mindful of time. I also know what colors I'm going to be using before I start, so I don't have any delay. I want to keep things moving for you, but as you start to mix your colors and things, be a little bit more deliberate. You can be slower. I see a place I want to soften some sky up in here.
Okay, well I got the water done. I'm gonna quit now.
Oh, whoops. Oh boy. No, somebody's calling me. Hi there.
Interrupting.
Sure, come on in.
Okay.
This is a watercolor class.
Oh, sorry.
But if you want to look at the artwork, go ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
So the sky was ultramarine.
Ultramarine, cerulean and ultramarine. Set up a little bit. I'm ready to start on the next section. And the next, I won't be painting like for 8 minutes or something. This next one will be pretty short. And so if you haven't caught up with me yet, that's quite all right. But I'm going to move along a little bit now. I'm going to do the road. I'm going to do one of the bushes that I kind of like in the photograph. And then the shadow along the road. I don't know what I'm going to do about these lines in the field. I want to put them in, but I don't want the thing to look like zebra stripes. Anyway, I'm going to take a decent sized brush. I really, my focal point is this house, okay? And I'm gonna have my brightest white there. I'm gonna have some other strong colors. I'm gonna have some blues in the roof perhaps. I really like this bush to the right of the house that has some reddish tones to it. You have to really look into the photograph. Some of these back here seem grayish, but at your focal point you want strong colors, strong light and dark contrast, and an irregular shape. And so with this little shed off the back, I create a little bit of a zigzag shape around this house. So I'm going to put a little bit of raw sienna and Windsor red. All right, I'm going to throw, there we go. And I'm looking at this thing, it's sort of fan-shaped, vase-shaped bush with a lot of, but it doesn't go all the way down. So some of the lines of the bush, I'm just going to bring down toward the grass. And I'm going to eke those in there. Just creating a few little lines there, making this bush a little bit irregular. I'll push it out here a little bit more. I don't want to look like a perfect Haagen-Dazs ice cream cone. Uh-oh, Fan, what's going on there? Down. Okay, so I'm going to leave that. I've done that little bit of, now I'm going to do the road. I see the road, and I had to really squint. I see the road as darker than the grasses.
Yeah, you use the dark dark.
So I'm going to use a little ultramarine and alizarin. And let's see how this looks. Is that darker? Not dark enough. Okay, a little more strong color. So I put it down. If I don't like it, I go back to my drawing board. Okay, here we go. Try to pull this right along here. touching both edges of the grass if I can. And since this is a gas station, that asphalt goes back to that building. That house goes across in front of this. I'm gonna leave a little bit of space around those gas tanks or gas pumps. Okay, what did I say I'm gonna do next? Oh, shadows along the road. I see a very interesting shadow in the photograph. Just, it's probably the shadow of that telephone pole, which I'm not putting in. And I'm going to use a little bit of raw sienna and that Windsor red again. And a little bit of ultramarine. And I'm leaving an edge right along. I want some grass right against the road, but this is a shadow that gets wider as it comes down here. It goes along there about like that. And I want to create sort of an irregular shape here. I'll do another little line there. And I might make a few little flicks just so it feels like grasses. I don't know how much of that to do. That may be a little bit gimmicky. I want to do the old splatter trick here too. Just want to break that out. Now what am I doing about these? I'm going to use a little bit of cerulean blue and raw sienna. Let's see about creating a few lines. Let's get a little more dark. Just create.
You're doing your lines that way.
Okay. And just feathering those lines a little bit. All right. I'm creating a few shapes down here. I don't want to get too crazy with it. And I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to get a little bit of shadow down in here. This bush creates a shadow. Okay, I'm going to stop there. So we've just done a little bit of shadows, a little bit of foreground, and I've got that red bush I just put in. So
So it's like Windsor red and some sort of raw sienna.
yeah, raw sienna.
I'm not sure what to do.
So we really don't want a lot of detail in the foreground because you want to put the most detail in your focal point, which again will be my farmhouse. Whew, okay, so we're gonna work on trees here. Background trees. And we'll be going trees all the way around the buildings. I'll save the buildings for a second step. So I'm gonna do a little bit of raw sienna, a little bit of the Windsor red, and then some cerulean blue, just to knock things up. I want to get kind of a grayish color. There we go.
Okay, but I don't understand. Okay, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Why are you starting dark rather than starting with your lightest color
What do you mean? What's dark?
on your trees? I mean, that's pretty dark.
Yeah, but it's, you know, if you squint and look at the picture, it's darker than the sky.
Okay.
Right, isn't it?
Yeah.
All
I
right.
guess I'm thinking trees.
Yeah, I'm painting the tree as almost one big silhouette. I can't paint between all those branches, you know what I
We
mean?
have a communication disaster on our hands, and she's worried about her trees.
All right.
My trees.
Okay.
My trees.
I'm mixing, Bill, the phrase is broken color,
Yes.
right?
Oh, okay.
We couldn't remember that. So every once in a while I'll put some red in there. Sometimes I'll grab a little bit of blue.
Any old color, just swap it in there.
Yep, just schlock it all in there.
That's Yiddish, by the way.
And I'll go around my reddish bush. I just blobbed into it, but that's all right. And as I get down toward the bottom,
We're talking Yiddish. We're talking Yiddish?
Yeah, it's the second language in the second neighborhood.
okay.
Don't be a schmendrick.
Don't be a what?
Schmendrick.
Did you wet the tree area?
No, I
first?
just sort of throw it in there.
Okay.
Okay, and it's gonna be a little bit darker, the trees are a little bit darker at the bottom, so I'm gonna use my blue and red just down in here, as though there's some bushes down there or something. Okay, so I've got light up in here where you can see through. Okay, now let's go back into, I'm gonna do another, I see this is a warmer color tree. I'm going to go around that. I did put in that chimney. I don't know why. Okay, and then, yeah, I'm going to skip a couple trees. And then I see a couple pine trees there. I'm not going to deal with those right now. And then I have some trees. Well, let's reload the color. 3 colors here, red, yellow, and blue. Okay. And I'm creating sort of a grayish color, and I'm going to go around the Gulf sign. Gotta be careful here. Okay. I'm taking that color all the way down, right down to the grass line. I'm going around this big tree over here. Again, cerulean blue, Windsor red, and raw sienna. And right here, Judy, you want to watch this part? I'm feathering this color into the pine tree. I don't want a sharp line there. So I'm just sort of feathering that tree there. And then since I've taken out that white tree, I'm putting in another. Ooh, wow. Another warm tree over here. 2 trees it is. I'm going to have a pine tree way over on the left. And now I'm going to add a little bit more dark at the bottom here. And I am going to feather this tree with water into the pine tree. So I can, all right, how do we do there? Then around that, around that. Oh, you don't see my painting? Yeah, go to the gallery and then pin my painting. You'll get it. Yeah, in the upper right. Okay. You mean double click on the painting? Okay, try that, Sarah. Double click on the painting. And can you pin it, Sarah? No. Okay, then I gotta remember, I gotta let you back in. I'm at a stopping point anyway, so,
I love the smell of lilacs temporarily. But if you get a steady dose of it, it feels like you're at a funeral home.
Oh, what happened to your mountain in the back?
I haven't painted it yet.
But it's gonna be dark.
Yeah, it is. You always paint light to dark, right?
Unless we're doing
Yeah,
dark
unless
light.
you're doing it backwards, would you?
No, I've done the light trees, then the dark will come in next. And then which is darker, Judy, the pine tree or the mountain?
The pine tree.
That's right. So the mountain can't be as dark as.
No, the mountain's darker than the pine, depends which side of the pine tree.
That's right, it does, doesn't it?
Sorry, that's true.
No, you're right. No, that's important. But on the dark side of the pine tree, it's darker than the mountain.
Which is very different from the dark side of the moon.
Oh boy.
Oh, man.
Oh, another brick in the wall here.
Another brick in the wall, all right.
How much more time we have?
Another brick.
Okay, I'm ready to start on the buildings.
Oh, right, the focal point.
I'm gonna do this now. This is, we've got the house here, and then we've got the gas station here. And I see the, if I'm going from light to dark, I see that roof there is pretty darn light, right here. So I'm gonna, I gosh, I sort of see it as a greenish roof too. I don't know. So I'm using a very pale raw sienna and cerulean to create that roof color. Right to there. And then the little flat part of the roof, I see it as even paler. I don't know if I can get any difference here. So I have a little bit of bluish in there. I'm just changing the tone a little bit. All right. Good. Now we need to get into the shadow sides of the buildings. I'm gonna wait on this roof for a minute. And I've got a lot of warm colors here, warm browns, yellows, warm red over here, warmish colors. So to make this pop, I'm going to need some cool colors. And cool colors will be the ones, they are in the blues and purples. And so let's see, which brush do I want to use? Use this one. So I'm going to use, I haven't used much ultramarine, I don't think, yet today. I've used cerulean more often. There's ultramarine, alizarin crimson, that's way too much color. There we go. And I put it on there and I see, how does it look? I think I want a little more blue. There. A little overlap where that roof sticks out. It's a pretty strong purple here. And while I have that, I'm going to put a little bit of line under the roof line there. I'm going to put a little shadow across there. Okay, now I'm going to take that same color. I'm going to put it, I'm going to go right through that little roof thing. Go right through all that. Put a little bit of an accent under that. A little bit of an accent along there. How are we doing here? I might put a little line right at the base of the building. And I'm going to do the left-hand sides of these gas pumps. Okay, let's see. All right, now. Okay, I'm going to do the roof of this house, which I see is darker than the side of the house. So I'm going to get this larger brush again.
Is that a cat?
Yeah, it's a little doggy. Ultramarine and raw sienna, a little bit of alizarin. Okay, see how that's darker than the side of the house, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to take a little bit of some of that, and I'm doing just the shadow side of that There we go. And while I'm at it, I'm going to start doing a few windows. A little bit of raw sienna on here. I sort of think the top part of the window might have a shade on it. And the bottom half of the window, maybe a darker red or blue. I leave a little bit. If there's any chance for color, this is a nice little place to inject it. Okay, how is this doing? Okay, now the garage. This is a great old neighborhood garage, or back in its day it was. Norman Rockwell did a painting of a soldier from World War II coming home, talking with all the neighbors. And he was sitting in this very garage.
Where was this again?
This is in Arlington, Vermont.
And ironically, you took this picture right after Hurricane Sandy.
How'd you know that? Okay.
Well, because it's November of 2012.
Oh, okay.
October 2012 was Hurricane Sandy.
So I'm putting another, I'm gonna put a doorway in here.
Actually, my question is, did you go up there for the weekend, or were you up there because the power was still off down here?
What did we do? Hurricane Sandy.
The public schools
yeah,
in the city were out for like several weeks.
Yeah, we were here for that.
Connecticut was closed.
Yep. Okay, so a little bit of a. That's the big garage door there. There's the little door. There's a little window there. We got front door here. 2 windows on either side. It's kind of a modest little house.
It's an old house.
All right. Yeah, it is a old house. All right, I'll stop there, let you guys catch up with it. So now we have some strong purpley colors, very cool colors that make a nice contrast with the warm browns and oranges and grays that we've had before. Okay, I'm about to start the background hillside and then the pine tree. A little yellow what? Oh yeah, did you put that little traffic? Okay, that's fine, because it's in the focal point area, so it's no problem adding something in there.
I thought it was annoying. I was happy that Ned got rid of it.
All right, here we go with the background. Whew.
How dare they?
What the hell color are we doing with this? Dark hillside. I'm going to do some ultramarine with Windsor red, which is going to make it darker than even alizarin. Okay, let me see how that looks. Not dark enough. A little more red. Whoops. Okay, here we go. Boom. I'm going to pull this all the way down. Keep a pretty steady line for that hillside. Above these trees. Scooping up. And I'm going to finish it off right in there. Now here's the tricky part. This is where I'm going to be doing some negative painting. I'm going to be making a few little blobs to indicate the ragged edges of those trees. Steve, make sure your roof is on that garage is done before you try this this mountain.
I'm getting that now.
Otherwise, you're going to be in big trouble.
You might experience disappointment.
Okay, so again, just making some little. And I'm going to have a pine tree down there.
That's what I like saying to my 25-year-old now. You may experience disappointment.
How does he react to that?
Yeah, pretty much the way Judy would.
I don't know, I think
With fouler language, of course.
of course, with some foul language. I go, Grandma, ooh, what?
Now this should really make your trees pop out by having these.
Oh, boy. Wow.
And while I'm waiting for that to dry, I am going to do a few lines with a little raw sienna and some of the color on my palette. I'm going to do a few lines of the trees. Because these trees are definitely dry now.
And you're using, what are we getting?
Oh, just
What's the purple mix?
Red.
wow,
Stop laughing.
that is loud.
There's nothing
I
to throw
can't.
at me.
I'm having a terrible night.
If your tree branches and stuff look too dark, just add a little raw sienna to them.
That would have been don't look dark at all.
Yeah, you can have a little more color.
Rethink your commitment to watercolor.
Now, while this hillside is still sort of wet, I've let it set up for a minute. Now, this is the trick here. You're going to want to watch this one here. I'm going to take some new gamboge yellow and ultramarine blue. I'm going to start this pine tree. But on the right side of the pine tree, it's yellowy. There we go. I'm going right into it while the background is a little bit wet. Doing the right side of the pine tree here. Boom, boom. Right into the clouds. And this pine tree is overlapping some of those trees on either side of it. Okay, new gamboge and the ultramarine. sometimes I can add a little bit more raw sienna. But this is dense down here. Okay, sometimes I can see through it. I'll admit. Okay, boom, 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 boom. And then on the right side, it's really, left side, it's really dark. I'm pulling these up. Ultramarine, and then I put in a little bit of that Windsor red. And sometimes you take that dark right across. Wow. Okay, and since we got those colors already, I've got another pine tree that's just at my far left edge. And again, I'm gonna ultramarine and new gamboge, and I'm just gonna overlap the previous trees. I'm using my brush to create the feeling of the wispies. And there's some shadow underneath this pine tree. It goes off on either side. And there's a little bit of some pine trees above the roof here. And I'm not sure what, yeah, I will. I'm gonna have them break through the line of the hillside, give them a little more substance. But I don't want to have the two of them like twins. I got one next to the other, but one's taller than the other. Okay. Pause there. I've gone ahead and I've done a little bit of that Gulf sign while I was waiting for things to dry. I'm getting pretty close to done here.
You put an extra tree in.
Where's that?
I didn't see that pine tree.
On the far left?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't want to have it be really light on the edge, so it's kind of like a bracket. You know, then I get around and I start looking and I go, oh, that's almost the same color as that, so that can't be. So I've got to lighten that thing up or do something. I mean, I darken up the tree more.
I'm finding more and more that I like to build up color slowly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's me or whether that's Because I know from time to time I can be unique.
You?
Rats. Good.
Morse code is gonna drive me nuts. In fact, I think it has already.
What's that?
You don't hear it?
I hear the whistle.
What whistle are you listening to?
You call what?
Morse code.
Well, Morse code is more of a dot that
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
My brother used to be a ham radio operator.
really, oh, yeah.
So was my brother.
Yeah. And that was like, he and I were roommates in life.
And he thought it was so cool.
Yeah, you wake up in the middle of the night, hearing clickety clack. And he can do Morse code faster than my daughter-in-law can, or my sister, excuse me, my niece is capable of texting.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's kind of just pushing.
Yeah. No, he's been doing it for a long time. He can do like 80 words a minute or some sort of ridiculous.
My brother was the youngest ham radio operator
Mm.
And where?
in Georgia.
Uh-huh.
Maybe even US. He was 13, 12, 13.
And he had antennas coming out of his bedroom window all over the
Yes.
place. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, with the antennas up on the roof.
Right.
Of course.
Well, and Ralph packed them up and took them to college with him.
This must have been my neighbor Barry.
So I'm not,
See if it'll work.
I'm not wild about the Gulf sign looking so bright. So, but I've just put the letters in, and they're very wet. But I may throw a tone, a very light tone of shadow, because I think it competes with the house, and it's also, whenever you have lettering that draws the attention of any human being, you're trying to read it,
That's right. You don't have that problem with AI.
and I don't.